Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ethos Online, a place where we can be, belong, and become the very best version of ourselves. So again, thank you for joining us in your living rooms, your cars, wherever it is you decide to hit that play button. Thank you for joining us here at Ethos. And so, as always, we start by telling you if you want to be someone who continues to support and partner with us, you can do that at ethos-church/donate. And if you want to continue getting more of these videos, hit subscribe and hit that little bell button. And we would love to partner with you and just walk alongside you in this journey. So again, this is a place where we continue to take that narrative we grew up with, the Bible, and we continue finding more and more beauty in it because a lot of us, we've done a lot of deconstructing. And some of these things we begin to wonder, do I even want it anymore? Do I want to even read this? Is this even interesting? Well, the deeper you go, the bigger and bigger and the more beautiful it gets. And so that's what we do here. We delve deeper and deeper into the messages of Jesus. And what we find is there's some beautiful truths there of how to be a better and better human being, how to live in community with others, how to see the divine everywhere. And so one of those ways is what we've been doing lately is we've been going through the Sermon on the Mount. And again, the Sermon on the Mount is a beautiful moment where, again, it tells of the story where Jesus, this Jewish rabbi, right? He goes up onto this mountain and begins speaking to the people, citing Torah. And again, any Jewish person immediately makes a connection. This is another Moses. This is another messianic individual who's going to take us to the next era, the next place of what it looks to be human. And in their case, Jewish, right? Yeah, they were Jews. Again, one of our favorite quotes we continue sharing, the Sermon on the Mount is actually a deeper critique into the heart of the law. It reclaims the beauty of living life in harmony. Again, the Ten Commandments were not a bunch of rules and regulations that are supposed to ruin your life. They were literally there to help them become better human beings, how to treat each other better, how to live in harmony with each other. And this is what Jesus does. And again, in the first century, when this is given, this new concept of how to look at the law, and we call this again the Sermon on the Mount. When this takes place, again, this is written in the first century, 70 A.D. post even, when the temple's destroyed. And so people are asking the question: Is our Jewish tradition gone? Is it dead? Right? They've lost all hope. And then this is when the Jesus message surfaces. It's a message that says it's not dead. We can live life differently. Stop looking to rebuild a temple. Stop looking to rebuild another empire. Let that happen here inside each of us. And when we do, community happens. Life happens. That's the deep message of Jesus. Again, yeah, it's been sabotaged, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been kind of taken and pushed in a very different direction. But that is the deep, beautiful message of Jesus. And so, of course, Jesus is like Moses, Moses 2.0. He's sharing these blessings, these ways of being deeply human, how to live fully. And so we've gone through all these different blessings the last couple of weeks. This is actually the last one. And so this is the last blessing in the Sermon on the Mount that is given. And again, blessing meaning happy are those who do these things. Full are those who do these things. So the last one, it's a little different. And it offers up a lot of interesting, you can go this way or this way with it. And depending on whatever culture, tribe, or even place you're in right now, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you could read this very differently. And so let's read this and let's keep in mind first century people who have gone through pain and brokenness, who are in captivity, right? They have been persecuted deeply. They kind of deserved the temple being destroyed because they acted violently, right? And I should never say deserve, but it's what happens. It's a response to violence. Violence begets more violence. And so here's the verse, Matthew 5 verse 10. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness. Now, I want you to notice one thing right from the get-go. It doesn't say blessed are those who are constantly looking to be persecuted. Yeah. I think many of us were really good at throwing out the Facebook posts or whatever, knowing we're going to get slammed over certain things and then claiming the victim, right? That's not what this is. We're not there to initiate frustrating combat, blah, 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 and then taking on the victim mentality, right? That's not what this is. Notice this. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness. And we'll delve into that more. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, interesting, right? So watch this. Righteousness. I used to think righteousness was I do all the right things, and now I get to go to heaven, right? I get to be saved. Maybe heaven for you was immediately when you die, or someday later when Jesus comes on and the asteroid takes everybody up there. Whichever direction it was, righteousness for so many people meant you are good. You're saved. You're perfect. You throw in your word there. But unfortunately, that completely, or I should say fortunately, it misses the mark completely. It is completely removed from the original context. Righteousness actually meant fair dealings with people. And so go even deeper. It was basically when you live in a state of honesty and justice. Those are the things that happen when you step into a room. That's the idea of being a righteous person. You are constantly dealing fairly with others, and whatever actions you take, they're justified, right? They are bringing peace, shalom. They're bringing that into the picture wherever you go. So that again is the deeper picture here that we're talking about when we talk about righteousness, not some far off thing or not some present thing that you obtained, right? This is something way deeper. And this is actually something we can experience, which is even more good news. And so think about this. Those who are persecuted for doing that in the world. So again, good people in the world who are treated poorly for doing good. That's what this is talking about. People who are essentially going out and they're doing the good works, and yet the other side is saying, right? They're persecuting you, whether violently or emotionally, whatever it is. There's a negative push against you. You are doing everything you can. And I know I'm speaking to some people right now. You're doing everything you can to bring positive things to the world, to your work, to your family, to your friendships, right? To your community. You're trying so hard to do these things that are going to bring positive things. And yet, there's that other side that seems to push back. And in this word, they use the word persecuted. You could add a plethora of other words for it. Mistreated, mocked, right? All these different things. This is what this verse is talking about. And again, notice this, the prophets, every time you look at the Old Testament, these people who stood up and they said, whoa, look, if we continue going this direction, right? If we continue treating our enemies this way, it's going to bite us in the butt, right? If we continue treating each other this way as a community, this is going to happen. If we continue adopting these certain traditions and cycles that are really pretty broken from other tribes, this is going to happen. And so they would give messages of warning, but then they would give messages of hope. But get this, the prophets, they were not they were not popular people, right? And they were definitely not popular people when all of that stuff they warned people about actually happened. Obadiah, Micah, Jonah, all these different prophets, they would begin sharing these messages, and sure enough, they were oftentimes murdered, right? Talk about persecution. It wasn't just the neighbor down the street mocking you because you're trying to do something good around the neighborhood. No, it was literally they were murdered by their own people often. And so they were doing good. They were sharing messages. We need to shift and change and do things differently, but they were treated really poorly. And so I know some of you are going to love this and some of you will hate it, but I honestly think it's a good connection to today. And yeah, whether you're an ass or an elephant, this individual is going to spark something different in you, but I want you just to think about it. There's this young girl, Greta Thunberg, and yes, she decided to protest. She essentially, and let me just read you the little bio that they give of her. She's a Swedish environmental activist on climate change who is campaigning, has basically gained international recognition. So again, after Thunberg, she did a TED Talk basically, and she got really popular for it. And she said, I'm going to strike. I'm not going to go to school until certain things change. And that has caused such a shift. And people have taken notice. And this is why Greta Thunberg is Time's Person of the Year. She's making this huge statement. She's saying, look, my generation will not have a home anymore. If we do not change my generation and the future generations, they're not going to have an earth to inhabit. If we don't change the way we consume, right? If we don't change the way that we treat this world, there won't be a world to live in anymore. And yet she has been the center of so much persecution. Even our president, whether you love him or hate him, even our president has publicly mocked this poor little girl. And again, poor, she's a strong little girl. She's dynamite, right? Even our president here in the United States has mocked her. And so she has faced deep persecution because essentially she has given this simple message. The world has to change. The world has to change, or there won't be a world for my generation or the future ones. And isn't it interesting? The message, it's a positive one. It's one that says we have to change, right? There's hope, but we have to start changing how we interact with the world. So let me continue with this verse, because there's more than just what I read. It continues, verses 11 through 12. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Right? Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Notice that. Great is your reward in heaven. Now, again, coming from a background that I did, heaven, again, always associated with up there and someday. However, heaven, right, according to Jesus, heaven is a present state. It's a present state of being basically in shalom. It's when shalom is experienced, it's sought, and it's constantly something you are seeing all around you. That, according to Jesus, was heaven. And so again, read this verse again with me. Luke 17:21. Because don't take my words for it. Hear the words of Jesus, right? Here's what the writers attribute to Jesus. He says, when asked by the Pharisees when the kingdom of God would come, right? Get your decoder rings out. No, he says it very plainly. It's right here. The kingdom of God will not come with observable signs. Yeah, so throw out your dang decoder rings, right? Stop trying to assume you know like all these things. That's not the point either, right? Nor will people say, look, here it is. So again, notice that. It's not going to be so obvious to everyone around you either. Yeah? Here we go. For you see, the kingdom of God, right? Heaven, the kingdom of heaven, is in your midst. That word meaning up there, down there, around me, within me. The kingdom of heaven is here. It's all around me. And of course, the question's going to be, where is it, right? Yeah, where is it? So again, the gift, this thing is already here. I can have it, right? I can have it right here. I can experience it right here. It's already given. But the beauty of it is this. It's found in you and me and anywhere shalom happens. And so those aware of it, you enjoy it. Again, I love this picture of this young guy with his girlfriend. He's got this gift in his hand, right? He sees the gift. Everyone else is looking at the gift, but the gift is the relationship, right? And that's the thing that's blossoming. That's the thing that's causing the gift even to be there in the first place. That's it. And we miss it when we're in a culture that's constantly consumed with buy this, do this, this will make you happy, that'll make you happy. The reality is it's already there in our midst. And so for many of us, we miss it. There's this beautiful, I've been reading a biography about Edgar Mitchell, and it's shifted things a little for me. Edgar Mitchell was in Apollo 14. And he got to see the world from a far, far distance. Let me read you a little bit about Edgar Mitchell so you know who he is. Edgar Dean Ed Mitchell was a United States Navy officer, an aviator, test pilot, aeronautical engineer, ufologist, I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you, and NASA astronaut. And so as the lunar module pilot of Apollo 14, he basically spent 9 hours working on the lunar surface in the whatever region, making him the sixth person to walk on the moon. So he is the sixth person to walk on the moon. He's seen the world in a way that most of us will never see other than pictures, right? He's seen just how tiny he really is. Yeah. He's getting a glimpse that most people aren't able to see. And it's a glimpse that Edgar in his biography, he says, that moment when I'm on the moon and I'm looking at the earth, and then I'm turning and I'm looking at everything else, it caused such a shift in me. It changed the way I lived. And so here are a couple quotes I wanted to share with you from Edgar that I think are so poignant to our discussion right now. This idea of someone getting a shift, realizing it was there the whole time. I just needed to change my perspective of where I was seeing. So watch this. He says, when you're up there, right, you develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation. Notice that again, I love it. A people orientation. Yeah, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world. Yeah, notice that. A dissatisfaction with how things have been run, right? From out there on the moon, international politics, they look so petty. You want to grab a politician by the scruff of the neck and drag him 250,000 miles out and say, look at that, you son of a bitch. Right? Because again, when you see it, when you finally see it, you want others to be aware of it. You want the people who are abusing the system, you want to pull them over and say, look, like here it is, the kingdom of heaven. It's here, it's within your midst, and you're missing it. And you've been missing it all that time until finally you got a different perspective. Beautiful. Let me give you more from his biography. The desire to live life to its fullest, to acquire more knowledge, to abandon the economic treadmill, are all typical reactions to these experiences in altered states of consciousness. Again, him being on the moon. The previous fear of death is typically quelled. Notice that. When I become aware of this kingdom of heaven all around me, I'm no longer worried about rewards and punishments because I've just taken on a bigger perspective of the world. I've seen kingdom of heaven. I've experienced shalom. And when I experience it, all that other crap, the pain, the persecution that's being aimed at me, that doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. It's all quelled. If the individual generally remains thereafter in the existential state of awareness, the deep internal feeling of externity is quite profound and unshakable. The feeling of eternity. Even deeper, right? The feeling of eternity is quite profound and unshakable. Oh, yeah. Let me give you one more. And this is probably my favorite. And this is where I want to end pretty soon with you. He says, instead of an intellectual search, there was suddenly a very deep gut feeling that something was different. And again, I want you to think about your own experience. You had this moment, it altered things, it shifted things, and you began to become aware of the divine, of this shalom, the kingdom of heaven. You began to be aware of something so much bigger going on. Think about that moment. When did it happen? What did it look like for you? For him, he had to be removed from this earth and stand on the moon. Maybe for many of us, we don't have to go to that extreme. Maybe it's something a little simpler. When was it for you? Continues, it occurred when looking at Earth and seeing this blue and white planet floating there, and knowing it was orbiting the sun, seeing that sun, seeing it set in the background of the very deep black and velveting cosmos, seeing rather than knowing for sure, notice that, knowing for sure, that there was a purposeful flow of energy, of time, of space in the cosmos. That it was beyond man's rational ability to understand. That suddenly there was a non-rational way of understanding that had been beyond my previous experience. It continues, there seems to be more to the universe than random, chaotic purposefulness, movement of a collection of molecular particles. On the return trip home, gazing through 240,000 miles of space, toward the stars and the planet from which I had come, I suddenly experienced the universe as intelligent, loving, harmonious. Right? Again, the gift, when you are peacemaking, when you are doing the good things in the world, when you are doing positive things in the world and you are experiencing the kingdom of heaven, The pain, the persecution, those things, they don't quite matter anymore. Yes, they hurt. Yes, they're painful. But that view you have right now, oh, right? I had a chance this week. I've been substitute teaching again. I'm looking to, during the week, I want to do something again. I want to start teaching again. It's just gotten into my heart again. And so I'll be podcasting. I'll be doing all of those things, but I also want to be teaching. Yeah, I like to stay busy. And so I substitute taught the other day for the first time in a while. And I looked, and sure enough, there was an opening. It was very close to me. And so I thought, I'll take it. I barely even read about it. I barely looked to see what the teaching position was for. I just showed up. I was ready. When I got there, I realized that I was going to be an aide, and I was going to be an aide for a mentally challenged student. And so I got there, and I realized how much in need this child was. And so I spent all day with this individual, helping him cut his food, throwing the ball back and forth, helping him just kind of color back and forth. I did everything I could, and it was a lot of work. And what I noticed was there were these other amazing, beautiful humans around me. They were their teachers. And these individuals, I'm watching them, and they were just lovingly doing all of these things for these kids, getting absolutely nothing back from them. They were doing everything. They were even, taking them to the bathroom, working through them very patiently and lovingly through all of these exercises. And I noticed one girl, and she just was like, here's normal human, and here she is, superhero. And I noticed she'd gotten all these scrapes and cuts and bruises, because that's what happens sometimes when a child doesn't quite know how to interact with individuals yet. And I asked her, man, like you do this every day. You must have such a good heart. Like, what continues doing this for you? Where do you find your energy to do this? Like, you are such an incredible person. And she laughed and she smiled. And then she said this. She said, I see so much beauty in these kids. The scratches, the pinches, and the bruises are worth the beauty I experience every day. It's worth it for me. It's worth it to do good in the world, even though we know there's going to be pain, there's going to be brokenness, we're going to get some bruises. It is worth it to step into the world and say it's worth redeeming. And to go even further than just say it's worth redeeming, but actually put my foot on the surface. To be able to begin doing the actual work, getting my hands dirty. When I get my hands dirty, yes, there's going to be pain. There's going to be brokenness. There may be persecution. But it is worth it, isn't it? It's worth it. Because once you get a glimpse of the earth, once you get a glimpse of that child smiling and doing that one thing that you worked with them all day long on, once you get to see shalom in action, once you taste kingdom of heaven here, it's worth it, isn't it? Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I might even put it this way. Peacemaking isn't easy, but the rewards are worth it. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed digging into this message a little deeper. Because again, I believe this kingdom of heaven reality is here and now and can be experienced. And the message of Jesus is such a beautiful guide on how to do it now. And so again, I hope you all enjoyed this. Please share it with everyone you know, especially those who have kind of begun questioning things and looking a little deeper at this message. And as always, please consider giving to ethos-church.org/donate. Please consider partnering with us in that. Always living room sessions if you want to join us, the first and the third online in these Zoom groups that we have. Again, people from Arizona to Washington to England, wherever you are, you can join us online in deep discussions about what it means to be human. Oftentimes we use the narrative of the Bible. And please subscribe, hit that bell. We love you all. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Love you. Bye.